All right, Shalom. Okay, it's your brother Jonathan. All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rekah HaKodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I want to say Shalom to all the brothers and, of course, the few sisters who are pursuing this truth and sincerity. All right, may the blessing of election be upon your house. This lesson will be quick. I just wanted to make this point. There is a measles outbreak, whooping cough out here in Texas, and the rhetoric is starting up again to venate the children. Okay, and we know how that recent venate was different from all those that preceded it because it altered DNA. So really, that venate is prepping people's body to accept the MOTB. So the more people they can venate, it'll make that transition much easier. But I wanted to run this clip here. You know, I think it's going to be interesting how a state like Texas, who is, a state that was against it, majority of the people that are so-called red-blooded Americans, they were against it, and this state was pretty lax on it. I wonder how they're going to respond to this push, especially with this administration in office. But nonetheless, we know the ultimate agenda is to push the MOTB on people, so that's going to be pushed regardless of who is the figurehead that the elites allowed to be put up in front of you. Now, I also want to add the fact that this is not medical information. All right, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a guy reading the scriptures, just a man the Lord is using to impart understanding to those who have the ears to hear. Now, I want to speak briefly on what mRNA venate is and how it's different. So I went and asked Chat GPT. I asked it a simple question. Well, maybe it's not that simple. I said, what is DNA? How does it have an effect on bodily functions and consciousness? And can mRNA venates alter your DNA? And if so, for what purpose would this be beneficial? All right. So the first answer it gave me, it says DNA is a molecule that contains the genetic instructions used in the development and function of all living organisms. It's often referred to as the blueprint or instructions for life. DNA is made up of 4 chemical bases: adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine, that are arranged in specific sequence to form genes. And we made that, I believe it was all the brothers did lessons on it, but I specifically remember Elder Yashawamba and Elder Elder Malcolm of Chicago did the lessons on people of Israelite descent, the true bloodline descendants, having a God gene that scientists were studying. All right, and that God gene, it was a scientist named Dean Hamer. Okay, and I'll look it up real quick. Give me 1 second. Dean Hamer God gene. Yeah, it says the God gene, as proposed by geneticist Dean Hamer, refers to the gene called VMAT2. all right, which he theorizes plays a role in a person's predisposition towards spiritual experiences or religiosity. We have nothing to do with religion, but spiritual experiences. We have a stronger, we have the soul connection with the Bashim Yahushua. And the Lord could speak to anybody, but specifically, He's going to speak through who? His men. All right, we know that pursuant to Amos 3:7. Surely the Lord God should do nothing, but He revealed His secrets unto His servants, the prophets. Okay, essentially suggesting that genetic variations in this gene could influence how open someone is to spiritual beliefs. This concept is detailed in his book, The God Gene, How Faith is Hardwired into Our Genes. And I believe in one of his articles, he really dove into how so-called black people in America, that this gene was very heavily prevalent within them. All right, now back to the answer that ChatGPT gave me when I asked it, what is DNA? It said, what is DNA? How does it have an effect on bodily functions and consciousness? And can mRNA venates alter your DNA? And if so, for what purpose would this be beneficial? Now, I read the DNA part, and it went on to say, how does DNA affect the bodily functions? It says DNA plays a crucial role in determining the characteristics of an individual, including their physical traits, susceptibility to certain diseases. So you see a lot more of these diseases that you don't really hear about, that you read about in textbooks, popping up. And these people's explanation for it is going to be saying, see, you got the unvenated people are causing these things to come. Look at all this. You need to venate your children. That's going to be the push. All right. Yeah, so it's going down here. The answer he gave me is how does DNA affect consciousness? The relationship between DNA and consciousness is still not fully understood and is subject of ongoing research. However, it's believed that DNA plays a role in neurotransmitter regulation. DNA influences the production and regulation of neurotransmitters. All right. And with that MOTB, it's taking hold of those neurotransmissions in your brain, with the one that Elon Musk developed with Neuralink and many other companies. Okay. Which are chemicals that transmit signals between neurons in the brain. Number 2, it says brain development. DNA helps shape the structure and function of the brain, including the development of neural connections and pathways. Number 3, it says epigenetic regulation. DNA can be modified by environmental factors, which can affect, so environmental factors, the conditions of your life can affect, how you turn out. It's a product of your environment, as the saying goes. Okay, can affect gene expression and influence behavior, mood, and cognitive function. All right, and then down here, the last part of the question I asked it says, can mRNA venates alter your DNA? It says mRNA venates, like those developed for the hokey pokey, right? There's code, as you all know, do not alter your DNA in the classical sense. All right, because it alters it introduces another strand. That's what it's doing. It's adding to your story, thus trying to alter your story, right? They do not integrate into your genome or change the sequence of your DNA. Instead, mRNA works by introducing a piece of genetic material. The venates introduces a piece of genetic material called messenger RNA into cells, encoding a protein, triggering an immune response. The protein triggers an immune response, which helps the body recognize and fight, which is, we know, is a toss up depending on what they're putting in you. And it's really just, I'm forgetting the word when you beat meat so it can be ready to be cooked. The word escapes my mind, but people are being prepared for the fourth industrial revolution, to where they change, where they're merged with machine. So things like this pop up in the news, and being a spiritual person, you understand, like, there's clearly going to be a motive behind this. What is it going to be? Oh, it's again that push for people to accept the serpent's brew. It's going to be revved up again at some point. It's going to be a talking point that's prevalent, especially over here. Even though everybody's seen with Ouchie and all these guys that he had to be pardoned for what he did, because of how what he was pushing affected people. But people are still going to, turn the fear of man, not the fear of the Most High, but they're going to turn the fear of man and walk down that path once more. But, the consequences for resisting, I'm sure, are going to be a little bit harsher this time. There was a man a couple days ago named Ken Long. Look at this article on him. Ken, Ken Long, right? The 54-year-old veteran from Eaton. He was denied a heart transplant at Christ Hospital because he refused to take the hokey pokey. Edomite guy too. So they're about to put the squeeze on the people, but you have to be built up in the spirit to be willing to resist again what's coming down the pipe. All right, so make no tearing to turn to the Lord. Abaratazah, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises once more to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruchahakwadash. Want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders, a great millstone. Want to say shalom to all the brothers and, of course, the few sisters who are pursuing this truth in sincerity. All right, may the blessing of election be upon your house. Shalom.